Good morning, ladies. Really excited about what we're going to do today, and this is going to be fun. Lots of great questions. Anna Cecilia Dowling, I'm so glad that you're on this call. Sheila, good morning. So glad you guys could join us. I think this is going to be a fun time with not very many women, so lots of great questions to answer. It's going to take a second for them to get on. So let me make sure I have this part set up. And we will wait for Pam to join us. She should be joining us shortly. Let me make sure that she's got this. And while I'm doing that, so tell me, how are things going for you ladies? What are the most pressing things you want to ask Pam? Ooh, magnesium citrate or oxide. You know, she just put me on that, and she can tell you more about it. I just know what the container looks like that it's in. Beyond that, I don't know. But we'll see what she recommends, and she'll tell you when she joins us. Let's see here. I think that is not going to let her in. Hang on. Oh, hey, not fun at all. Totally agree with you on that one. I was just talking to somebody about that not long ago, and it is not a fun thing at all. Not at all. Let's see here. Let me pull Kathy on. I see Kathy Ferry, you're on. I just pulled you on. Can you hear me? You may be on mute. I don't know. Talking permitted. Yep. Oh, you got to unmute, I think.
It's me. Got it.
There you go. You're on. Yay. So we're waiting for Pam to join us. And what's interesting, Anna, when you say that about menopause, I would imagine, except for Bree, many of us on this call have experienced that as well, either are or have already experienced it. And I know it's not fun. So I know she can help you a lot with that. And I have to tell you, Kathy, while we're waiting for Pam to join us, here's what's really interesting. I was talking to her yesterday, and she was telling me, I was asking her about, I love the energy, because I know you all have level 10. I love the energy drink and I love the focus, but I seem to resist doing the morning power drink. And she started to tell me what's in it. And as I'm listening to that, I'm like, I'm crazy not to do the morning drink. What's in that morning drink? While we're waiting for Pam. Uh-oh, you're on mute. Or your volume may be down. You were good for a second.
Are you off mute?
Now you're good.
Jesus, I don't know. I actually try to get on really, is all good?
You're good, you're on.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you something that Tom actually said to me yesterday about the power drink, which I thought was an interesting way of looking at. But what's in the power drink is 22 grams of protein. There's no sugar. There's a whole back superfood complex that would take an hour for me to go over. And then it has this really amazing mushroom complex, which you're reading up on things. You understand that it helps prevent cancer. It has a lot of really strong health benefits. But the resistance sometimes to people doing a shake in the morning. And that's what it is. Because a lot of us are used to, you know, these phenomenal big breakfasts, which if you really look at them, they're not healthy. It's an interesting way for us to start our day, but a lot of us do it that way, whether it's a bowl of cereal or it's this full eggs with a bagel and bacon and all of that, you know, which is super fun.
Yeah, that is fun. You're right.
So Tom was talking about it and he said, you know, health is something you have to work at. He goes, you make your bed every day because it shows discipline. You make your calls every day because it's going to get you to your goals. Well, health's the same way. You do your shake every day because it's helping you improve your health and keeping that baseline where you need it to be. And I'm sure that's how I look at it. Also, I mean, he said it, but it's exactly the routine I'm in now. It is just my discipline for my own health. So if you look at it that way, it's easier to just check the box and move on. And then eventually you learn to love the shake.
What helped was for me was going to the vanilla. And then I mixed the vanilla. So it looks like some people are having trouble getting in. Do you?
You know what? I did at first too.
Okay. All
But
right.
the new link that I couldn't get in, it said Pam was in the middle of a video or something like that. There was
So she'll join.
But are other people having a problem getting in?
Well, I don't know. I just texted somebody with the link again, and I've posted it on the Facebook page. So, listen, it seems to me, and I find this mostly on Monday mornings, when I go to use a Zoom thing, anything on Monday morning, I have a lot of trouble. And I think it's because everyone around the world must be using Zoom at that moment. So it just could be that we're busy. But Sheila had her hand raised. So I think Sheila had a question. Sheila, is it okay if I bring you on to ask your question? I'm going to see if that's okay. Let's see. Let me bring her on. All right, Sheila, so you're going to need to unmute, and then we can get your question. You can talk directly to Kathy. How cool is that?
I did not have a question. I just raised my hand to say hello.
Oh, hello.
And to see you two powerful women that I've known about you for so long. I've listened to your I don't know if they're classes or not, but it's just, studying the why is just amazing. And I've watched Tom drink his drink forever.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I've known him since he's 19. So like, you
probably went to one of his productivity schools at the very beginning.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So ladies, if you have a question, all you have to do is raise your hand, click the little thing at the bottom where you can raise your hand, and then I can click on you and you can come on live and ask anything you want. That's why we set it up like this, because we wanted you all to be able to ask your questions live. Now I'm going to bring Pam on.
Okay, looks like we're starting to get people that can finally get on, so which is good.
Yeah. So I think I'm bringing Pam on. Let's see if that worked.
There we go.
There you go.
Let me turn on my video here. It shows that's on.
So we can see your beautiful face. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. Did you have a problem getting on?
Yes, well, I had a different link, and so did Gigi, and so I've been waiting since about 10 till for the house to start. Yeah, so Gigi sent me a different link, so that's where I was, just sort of waiting for that.
So we got that fixed. So ladies, if you've got a question, all you have to do is raise your hand. Before we get started, and while we're waiting for other women to join, I will tell you how all of this came about. I had gone to my regular female doctor, which she tells me I only have to go every 5 years now because of my age. So I went on my 5th year, and she said several things to me. And one was, have you ever had a bone density test? I'm like, no, never. And she said, well, you probably should do that. So I went and got a bone density test. And all I got in the mail 2 weeks later was a letter from my doctor, my female doctor, that said, you have osteopenia. So dramatically upgrade your calcium and take vitamin D and don't drink any caffeine. And that was it. So I thought, well, this is really weird. So I've been taking this for a couple of days and getting just sick as a dog because I didn't realize I couldn't handle the calcium. So of course I called my friend Kathy, and I'm telling Kathy all about it. And she's like, you might want to talk to Pam. And as soon as we hung up the phone, my phone rings and it's Pam. And she's like, well, what did the blood work say? I said, well, they didn't do blood work. They just did a bone density. She said, and this is why I love Pam Jacobson. She said, you can't make a decision on somebody's body if you haven't done all the tests. You need to do the blood work. And I remembered 3 years ago, I had done a full health evaluation with Pam, which if you haven't done one, and I don't know how many she can even do, it is phenomenal. I mean, a full blood work, everything. And I learned a lot, huh?
All right.
Yeah, I learned a lot. And then not only did I learn a lot from it, I learned that I had a whole lot of issues. In fact, I brought these with me. I don't know if you all can see in my hand, all of the pills now that I'm taking. But what I love about this is it's all natural stuff. So Pam got involved and said, okay, first of all, when she called me, you could have a heart attack or a stroke at any minute. oh my God, what do I do? And she's like, well, you're going to have to get on Lipitor right away because you got to have something. But here's a lot of natural things we can do to kind of ease you through this. So that's how all of this began. And I got to thinking, how many other women like me are dealing with stress and hormones and menopause that would just like a chance to ask a question of somebody? Just ask a doctor. So that's why we decided to do it. And being a very busy woman, both of these women, I am so appreciative of you all taking the time to do this. This is amazing.
Okay, this is a phenomenal group you have put together. You know, there's the most amazing real estate women in the industry on your Facebook page. So I love looking at it, and we're thrilled to be here. And I'm thrilled that Pam is going to, you know, answer the questions, because when we do these things, it seems that people have a lot of questions. So hopefully people were able to get on, and yeah, Pam.
We've got a lot more that have joined us now.
Oh, good. So
here's the thing too. How often do you have an opportunity to be able to go live and ask somebody what you want in a wonderful, intimate group where you can ask whatever you want, no judgment, no one cares except about your health? So if you want to ask a question, click on the little raise hand button at the bottom of your screen, and I'll bring you on and you can ask. And while we're waiting for people to think of their questions, I have a whole bunch, Pam. I hope you don't mind.
No, I'm excited to be here. This is my passion, obviously.
Okay.
So happy to answer any questions.
COVID-19. Oh, everybody should take elderberry. No. Everybody should just overload on zinc. Okay, what should I do? Or is there anything I can do to be proactive with COVID?
Yes, there's a lot of things that you could do. And I think the first thing is to realize that it really is your only protection, I think, at this point, is to take responsibility for your health. There is nothing out there currently that can, you know, stop you from getting the virus. So you really need to manage your immune health. And that, I think, you know, the first most important thing that you can do is really manage your 4 key lifestyle pillars. You know, reasonably good diet, move your body, get enough rest, manage your stress response. That's probably the most important thing. And, you know, if people have questions about those in particular, I could go into more detail. But I think on the lifestyle side, you have to do that, because supplements alone aren't going to save you, right? You have to still do the work. So Tom calls it the meds. Really, you know, most of you have been exposed to that idea, and that's critical. So you have to do those things. Now, on the supplement side, there are a number of things that you can do. I would say, when we look at the studies and the literature around just immune health in general, but particularly the stuff that we've seen come up even during this COVID era, is vitamin D is probably at the top of that list. Now, and it always has been, as far as immune health, bone health. It has a lot of function in the body. But when it comes to the COVID situation, vitamin D is going to be top of the list. The Level 10 Health products, which we'll talk about a little bit as we go along, when I helped Kathy and Tom formulate those, I put 2,000 units of vitamin D in the Focus formula, which is a standard sort of maintenance dose for vitamin D. But I would say during this time, I would add more. Most of us need about 5,000 units a day or so. So vitamin D, top of the list. Vitamin C, really easy to get and really easy to take. 1,000 milligrams a day. I think vitamin C is really important for immune health. Zinc, but you have to be careful there, right? It's not intended to be used in large doses. It's a trace mineral, which means your body doesn't need a lot, but it needs it. Zinc is what's needed to shuttle other things into cells to stop the viral replication. That's why you're hearing a lot about hydroxychloroquine and how some camps say it works and some say it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work if you're not, if you don't have adequate zinc to shuttle that into the cell to stop the viral replication. So again, the Level 10 Health products have all these basic things in them: zinc, vitamin C, your vitamin D. I think if you are compromised in any way, if you have an immune disease or diabetes, you may want to take a bit more of these things, but you know, it's going to be a little bit different for each person. But what I would say is we thought about all of that when we put together the Level 10 Health products. So, but vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D are your top ones. Elderberry, echinacea, golden seal, you've heard of all of those. Those are immune boosters. You can use them in boosting the immune system to protect you from viruses. But here's what I would say about those. If you have an immune disease already, an autoimmune situation like Hashimoto's or rheumatoid arthritis or lupus, you don't want to be using those, right? We don't want to boost the immune system. In fact, that issue that we're seeing with COVID, where the people who get very sick and some people actually die, the issue there is that the immune system is overreacting. It's called a cytokine storm. Many of you maybe heard that term. It's overreacting. So we don't really want to do things to pump up or boost up the immune system. What we want to do is balance and normalize. So I would say if you're perfectly healthy and you've got no immune diseases, you could use things like elderberry and echinacea, but I would be careful. I would use immune supporting things like vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc. Your B vitamins are important, the whole complement of them. So taking a B complex, I think is an important thing. Your fish oil or omega-3s, essential fatty acids, super important for anti-inflammatory. We're seeing those actually used not only as prevention, but also in the treatment process when we look at what do we need to do to lower that inflammatory cytokine process. So, probiotic is really great for immune system. Your immune system is mostly housed in your digestive system, for those of you that don't know that. So if you eat a crappy diet or you have bad digestion, you're going to be, much more susceptible. So doing things like eating a good diet, using probiotics, maybe working with someone like me to make sure your gut health is good. So there's lots of things. I think the bottom line is there's way more that you can do for yourself than your doctor or your scientist or your vaccine producers can do for you right now, right? And it's going to be some time before we really see a legitimate vaccine that might, give us some relief from having to be concerned. But I think that what the COVID thing points out for all of us is that now more than ever, it's really important for you to take that responsibility to do the lifestyle and do things that can
I ask something? I hate to interrupt, but I heard somebody say something, and I'm wondering it had to do with COVID. And I found it extremely interesting is that somebody asked this health practitioner, why is it that you see people that look completely healthy having an issue with COVID? And this person answered saying, because they have no idea what their underlying health DNA is unless you do something like Debbie has done, which is the health evaluation, and that I have done, and that, Tom, then you get a basis and to have a better idea. Because if you're talking COVID and you don't know that you have 0 vitamin D, you're going to assume that you did and you're getting enough with whatever you're taking. So I find that an interesting thing, that you can look physically healthy, but you have no idea truly what's going on. So it's important to get that basic DNA.
Yeah, it's very important to understand where your foundational health is at, because as humans, we're really, really good at pushing through and high performance. And, after a while, we even lose touch with the ability to know what's going on. Many things like low vitamin D, they are symptomatic, but they're general symptoms like fatigue and achy body, and that could be anything, right? So most of us just ignore, push through, go on. So you might perceive yourself to be healthy, but it's really interesting. Debbie would be a case in point. Somebody who's, essentially healthy and goes and gets tests done, and there's underlying issues that make her more susceptible in a COVID environment to the potential of that, not only getting the virus, but the potential downside of the damage that can do. So absolutely, you're right, Kathy. It's about, really assessing that health foundation, and, and there's some, tests that we can do to, to get that information.
I've done all 3. I've done your 3 tests many times. I've got it upstairs for Tom right now. He's going to redo them. I redo them once a year because things change, and I just need to know, like that handful of pills that Debbie's showing. Hey, Debbie, I've got the same handful of pills.
Yeah, it changes.
But I feel phenomenal right now. I mean, I don't even want to give up my handful of pills. Do you know what I mean? Why would I? It's great. It's all done in 5 minutes. I'm done.
I think what is one thing that can be phenomenal about this group of women is that had I not had a very dear woman friend that I called, because I know how she is about health, that I could talk to, who then turned to another really close friend, that little triangle, this little circle of women we have, we should take advantage of this, because there are I think about what you said about fatigue and achy bones. I mean, we've been into COVID at 3 months into it, I guess, and I was starting to feel bad, and I thought it was something else. We're 5 months in it. So probably then it was about 2 months in, and I was starting to feel bad. And over the next 60 days, it got really bad. Then they opened up where you could go to your doctor. I went, she said, do this. It just all fell into place. But I wouldn't have the right meds had I not gotten in touch with Kathy. And I think we need to take advantage of this, because we are so fortunate to have this group. I just put my sister, Kathy, you know, Luann, I just took her to assisted living. Her husband's in one, she's in one. And I went to get all of her meds. She takes only one prescription drug at 67 with all her problems. She has all these vitamins. And I'm looking at these vitamins because now that I've talked to Pam, I'm reading the bottles. And the vitamins she's buying over the counter, it's a waste of money. I was shocked at how little of what she needed is in there. So just having my eyes open to, there are vitamins and there are vitamins. There is a big, big difference. So I want to switch gears because I know Anna had a question, and I'm going to, Anna, bring you on so that you can unmute and ask your question, because I think it's a really good one. Let's see. You should be on.
Am I?
You are.
Oh, let me see if I can change this.
Your picture looks like a model.
Yeah.
I wanted to put myself in a video, but I
That's
don't
all
know
right.
how.
It's okay.
Anyway, I have many questions. One of them is the vitamin D. If we, with regular exposure to the sun, get vitamin D, why do we need to take it in a capsule?
Great question.
Yeah, it is a great question. And I think that, you know, there may be multiple answers to that, but here's, you know, just a little bit. Vitamin D synthesis, meaning the absorption into the body, is a really complicated process. So you don't just stand out in the sun and vitamin D pours into you and your cells use it right away. That's not how it works. It has to be converted. And you know, part of the theory is that humans have evolved to the point where that process is not very efficient anymore. And so our exposure to sunlight we don't do that conversion process very well. The best way to know what you need as far as vitamin D is to just simply have the blood test done. And then we have an idea, but I can tell you, I've been in practice for many years and I do blood work on all of my patients, and I'm in California, right? The land of the sun. And many of my patients are workers in the sun. I've had pool maintenance people and gardeners and construction people who are out in the sun all the time with some of the lowest vitamin D levels I've seen. Teenagers, especially, very low vitamin D levels. So it doesn't seem to be related to age or exposure to sun. I think across the board on average see that most people don't have optimal vitamin D. So you do need exposure to the sun. I think it's important to get natural vitamin D, but we don't find in lab work for the most part that most people will maintain an optimal vitamin D level without supplementation.
I see. And can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Ask as many as you'd like.
One more question. Magnesium. I was taking the citrate and then I saw by accident I got the oxide. So I don't know what the difference is. I don't know. One is double the dosage of the other one. What's the difference? Which one should I be taking?
Well, citrate is actually more absorbable than oxide. You know, it depends on the reason why somebody is using magnesium. I just did a whole lecture on magnesium yesterday. So it is a really important mineral. Most of us are deficient in it, so most of us do need to supplement with magnesium. And there are several different forms. They're all essentially okay. Some are more absorbable than others. Magnesium lactate, for instance, magnesium citrate are at least believed to be a little bit more absorbable. So it depends on, if you're working with a practitioner, they may have a reason for using oxide over citrate. But, the bottom line is that, some of it has to do with the amount of actual magnesium as well. When we take magnesium, it's a mineral. But the amount of magnesium, let's say your bottle says 300 milligrams per serving, it's not telling you the elemental, in other words, the actual absorbable amount. It's usually a high percentage less. And I believe oxide is a lower percentage of elemental magnesium, which is why we use some of the higher things like citrate and lactate. They have more elemental, that means the usable form of magnesium in them. So I hope that kind of explains it.
Yes,
But
it
the way
does.
to tell if everybody has a different level of need for most of these things that we're talking about. So with magnesium, the body has a fail-safe mechanism to eliminate what's not needed. So usually what I tell my patients to do is start at a lower dose, maybe around 200 to 300. The accepted range is somewhere between 400 and 800 milligrams a day. Some people need more, some people need less. If you get a loose or soft stool, then you know that you have hit, you're above what your body really needs, and you can back your dose down. So I usually just have my patients start with about 200 milligrams and slowly work up until they get a little bit of a loose stool. And then we know I need 500 milligrams a day, or this person needs 1,200 milligrams a day. So that, magnesium's pretty safe. You'd have to take amazingly huge doses to cause any harm. So you can experiment with it that way. But, it's definitely something most of us need to be using.
Okay, thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
you were going to ask a question, I think, about menopause.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on it. I went through my mood swings pretty badly. My husband thought I was gonna go crazy, but he's so supportive. So I went to my gynecologist. He gave me a couple of creams to put, one in my arm and the other one on my leg, and rotate them every night. It helps a lot. Then I got estrogen, there are vitamins, and that kind of got rid of the hot flashes. But still at night, I feel that I am so hot and my bed is burning. And if I sit on the sofa, it's the same situation. So I don't really sweat, but my body is like if I had fever. So my doctor doesn't want to give me anything else other than the creams that he prescribes, that he makes. It charges $120 for each one every 6 weeks. So I don't know what else I should be doing to alleviate the sensation of them burning.
It's a common issue in menopause, even if you're doing hormone replacement, which it sounds like you are. And as long as your hormone replacement is optimal, in other words, the levels, if he's checking the levels to see that your estrogen and your progesterone are balanced and your testosterone is balanced, and he's comfortable with that, and you're still really hot, then it's a common issue. It really is. So there are some things you can do. Magnesium at bedtime can help. Using some type of a cooling device. I don't know if you guys are seeing all the ads on places like Facebook and for things like the chili pad and a number of these things that you put into the bed that make the bed cooler. You can use things like that. It's basically to bring down the core body temperature using cold therapy like cold showers or cold bath in the evening before bed. You can use some natural supplementation like black cohosh, and there's a number of natural menopause supplements on the market that not only help with things like hot flashes and mood swings, but are there also to help manage that core temperature of the body. But a lot of it is just during your sleep preparation time, about 45 minutes before bed, using things that can cool the body temperature at that point. So a cool shower, using a cool cloth. There's something called I think a chill pillow or a cool pillow or something like that.
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah, and a lot of my patients find a lot of relief with that. So it is something that will pass over time, but there are lots of measures out there that you can use that really do make a difference. They really can work. So
Debbie, Excuse me, I'm so sorry. But you know what would be a great idea is to have everybody on this page write down their secret tricks to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your secrets to,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? 'Cause I have a girlfriend that just told me that she puts, I don't even know, I'm trying to remember it right now, something on her feet at night. And it cools the bottom of her feet and it helps her through the night. So
I've been told if you sleep, and I don't recommend it, but if you sleep with raw onions in your socks, it's supposed to, I don't know, that may be an old wives' tale, so I'm not sure.
hey, we'll all try it tonight, see what happens.
I don't think my husband, Dan would die.
Sarah,
He'd be calling you thinking you gave that to me.
Dan did.
Yeah. So I want to bring Mary Ann on. Let me see if I can find her on here because she wrote something in the Q&A, and I think this is a great question because I didn't realize this. She's actually coming out of having COVID. So let me see if I can bring her on. Mary Ann, can you join us? I'm trying. Looks like you're still muted.
There she is.
There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I can't, you had COVID.
Yes, just right now I'm just getting out of it. So like, let's see, was it the 26th? The other weekend. So all of a sudden, it hit me Sunday night. It just hit me. I was fine. I was doing everything well, doing about my business and whatnot. And all of a sudden it just hit me. But I am, as a background, I do have an autoimmune disease that I've been battling. It's been stable. And so once it hit me really hard. Been in bed for like over a week with the fevers, and they were low fevers per my doctor says, but to me they're like I was in hell.
Yeah.
Having the fevers and chills. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't stay awake. As much as I try to stay awake, try to even do some of the videos that are going on with our stuff right now. I couldn't even stay awake. Finally, just the other, what's today? Today's Thursday. I think Tuesday night, finally, I didn't have my my fevers anymore. I'm still weak right now, but trying to do as much as I could. I'm confined in my room. I mean, as much as I love my room, I am tired of being in my room.
Well, and I loved your questions. You were saying, ask Pam, what's the next step on my recovery? She kind of wanted to know where to go next.
Okay. Yeah, I think at this point, it's, your body, the first thing you really need is just to rest. And that is, I think that can sometimes be the hardest thing for most of us. As we start to feel even somewhat better, we start to push and want to be able to do more. And I would resist the urge to do that too soon, right? The body really, the only time that the repair can happen is when we're resting. And that's why you probably have had such a hard time staying awake, is because sleep is where you are getting all of the restorative help that you need. You may have heard of people who have severe accidents or trauma, and they get put into an artificial coma, right? The whole reason that's done is to shut down all body processes so the body can focus on healing in one area. And that's essentially your default when you're really sick. So I would say be very careful to resist that urge as you start to come out of this and feel better to overdo. I would continue to rest. And the four things that I talked about earlier, right? Sleep, making sure that you're, when you have an appetite and you are eating, that you're really giving your body nourishing foods, that you're using this time to really manage your stress and fear and concern around what's happening with you from a health standpoint. I would use the time, especially when you're incapacitated and all you really can do is just stay in your room and rest, to visualize health, right? Really see yourself healthy and vibrant, and whether that's you running on the beach with your hair blowing in the wind and a big smile on your face. It's really important that you give very clear instruction to your physical body right now about what your expectation is, right? This is where we're going. This is our destination. So using this time to really visualize and really incorporate that into what you're doing. Those would be the top things I would recommend. Certainly on the supplement side, I've had a number of patients that have dealt with COVID. Some of them have been very ill. You know, vitamin D, again, is one of the most important things that you could be doing. And in your case, I would I would probably have you taking anywhere from 10 to 20,000 units of vitamin D daily, unless you already know that your vitamin D is very optimal. It probably isn't.
No.
Especially if you've got an autoimmune situation already. You need to do everything you can to keep your immune system very balanced, right? It's already overactive. That's what autoimmune disease is. So keeping it very balanced. So, you know, again, the things I already mentioned, vitamin C, vitamin D, your fish oil, things that lower the inflammatory response are going to be important things for you to start now. And that'll also help with your recovery, you know, staying really well hydrated. But I would say that mindset and visualization is probably one of the most important aspects of recovery from what you've been dealing with, for sure.
Wow,
Thank
thank
you.
you for that. You know, made me think of this when you said that about vitamin D. You know, I have the little bottle of vitamin D.
Yeah, the drops.
Yeah, my husband and his wife and his kids all have COVID. He has it the worst. Should I take that to him?
Well, I mean, it's definitely one of the most important things that he could be doing. And once you're in the process of the virus itself, then I'm using, you know, much higher doses, right? So if that's 1,000 units for one drop, I would be having them do 20 drops a day.
Okay. I'm going to bring Michelle on. She had a great question she put in the Q&A. So Michelle, unmute yourself. Michelle Swafford, there you go. Are you there? I think you're on.
Hi there.
Hi.
Wow.
Hi, how are you ladies?
Great.
So I had mono as a child, and it seems like chronic fatigue likes to rear its ugly head from time to time, and I'm just really struggling right now. I'm taking B vitamins, I'm staying hydrated, I'm doing level 10, so I do need to work on my diet, but I'd love you to speak into that if you can.
Okay, sure. You know, Epstein-Barr virus is the latent, it's the name of what happens once we've had, many of us have had mono. I have mono as a teenager. And so Epstein-Barr virus is in all of us that have had mono in the past. And it's, you know, again, the immune system, that's your defense system, right? That's like your Army and your Air Force and your Navy and your Marines. Its job is anytime that we're infected with something is to protect us from that in the future, right? Whether it's a reinfection or whether it's because that virus never leaves the body. It stays what we call in a latent form until the immune system becomes weakened or compromised in some way. And, you know, when you're dealing with chronic fatigue or reactivation of Epstein-Barr, because that can happen, it's latent until it's not, right? It's latent until the immune system can't hold it down, and then it reactivates and you get the symptoms all over again, chronic fatigue, debilitating in some cases. So it's not different than the things that I've already talked about when it comes to immune health. You have to look at what is it that impacts the ability for the immune system to do its job. And first and foremost, it's sleep, stress, diet, and movement, right? So, and hydration. So if we're not really on our game in all of those foundational areas, the immune system is going to struggle. If we're doing a good job in all of those areas, then, you know, that's where the supplemental help comes in. The level 10 health products are good immune system managers. They're therapeutic. Debbie had indicated that, you know, they're much more powerful than anything you can buy over the counter, and that's true. But for some of us that have very weakened immune systems, we may need more help than that. So, you know, that's really where I work with clients. I'm actually working with quite a few Tom Ferry clients, and I think someone else, maybe Maggie, I think asked this question, could I evaluate labs and help? And that would really be where we would take something more on an individualized case-by-case basis. Is if this is something that you struggle with, regardless of your very consistent, dedicated attention to, you know, those 4 key areas. And I want to point out again that it is just not about diet and exercise. It is about stress response management and sleep. Those are the 2 most important. Diet and exercise are critical, but you know, those decisions are pretty much driven by how much stress we're not dealing with and how little bit of sleep we might be getting. So, you know, if you feel like you're really diligently working in all those areas and there's no change, then we have to look at other reasons why so if I've got a gut infection, if I have a problem with bacterial buildup in my sinuses or my teeth, or, you know, maybe my Army is off doing something and my Air Force is off doing something else. And that means my defense system is fractured. My immune system is over, you know, so that's when
there's not enough Army or not enough military to go around.
They're not able to stay joined because they're all off fighting a different battle. So when the first line of defense is always going to be your pillars, your key things, your meds, your 4 key pillars. If you're doing those things and yet you're still struggling, then that means that there's something else going on. Usually it's the gut. It can be hormonal imbalance. It can also be other infectious types of things that, you know,
all the things.
You have to look for those, right? You have to look for them. That's really where the testing and kind of health evaluation assessment, you know, is important to do for sure. Yeah.
Can you speak into MTHFR? Are you familiar with that at all?
Yeah, I am familiar. I am familiar with that. You know, genetics is something that I'm very fascinated by because it is partly probably an explanation for why some people in our current COVID environment might be young and really healthy, but get the virus and become very ill. So we do believe that there is a bit of a genetic sort of predisposition. And so genetics play a very, you know, important role in health and wellness, longevity and health span. So MTHFR is just one. Okay, so it's very important when we're looking at genetics to not fixate or pull it out of context because you can create a lot of problems. So the MTHFR gene SNP is about methylation in the body. So let's just call it, it's something that's very important for the body's ability to detoxify itself, right? We completely have everything we need in our body to keep it clean, to keep it detoxified. And MTHFR is one of those genes that helps with that. Well, many people have a down regulation or a mutation in that gene where it's just not so efficient. It'll show up on probably 40 to 50% of people's genetic tests. However, you can't just treat it by giving somebody a lot of methylating supplementation. You can actually create a lot of other problems. You have to understand sort of the whole genetic picture. So again, that's a lot of work I do with my clients is looking at genes. But if you have been diagnosed with a gene mutation for MTHFR, then that's really, you know, that's a time to really work with someone and look at that in the context of all of your genetic, you know, information so that you can make right decisions about it, right? Oftentimes we use methylating supplements, like the Focus formula, for instance, has 500 micrograms of methyl cobalamin, which is the methylated form of B12. And the reason why I kept it at 500 micrograms is that's a reasonably high dose. It's higher than what you would buy over the counter, but it's not going to be high enough to impact somebody that might have a methylation defect. So again, it's complex, but it's important to understand that you can't pull one gene out of the whole pool and say, oh, we're just going to treat this one thing, because when we do that, we inevitably create problems elsewhere. So
Jennifer posted a question: are vitamin D drops better than pills?
Well, it could be a personal bias, but I believe, you know, based on the science that I see, and a lot of, you know, I still I might be working in the area of natural medicine, but I'm still very much an evidence-based provider. So I really look at the science. That's important to me. And when we look at vitamin D research, absorbability is important. And I know from the work I do with my clients that most of us have bad guts. We don't, we take all those things, but we don't necessarily absorb the nutrients into our system efficiently. And the liquid vitamin D is absorbed in the mucosa of the mouth directly into the bloodstream. So it bypasses the gut, so I don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to absorb it. I know that you will. And I think that it's easier to use because 1 drop is 1,000 units. And if I'm asking you to take 10,000 units, it's easier just to pop 10 drops in there and know that it got absorbed. So I prefer the liquid vitamin D, but that's not to say that taking it in capsule form isn't efficient. I have plenty of patients whose vitamin D levels normalize on capsule vitamin D. So.
And I like the idea of not all of them being pills. I kind of like, there's something you gave me that I spray in my mouth, and then there's the droppers and the magnesiums in a powder. So it does kind of give you a little variety, which is nice. I want to go back to something that you've mentioned several times. And I like to think all of us are thinking about this, but haven't asked, and that is stress. I've had clients tell me they've had rashes on their face, they're nauseous. I know there's so much stress right now for so many different reasons. Are there a few simple things we can do to help alleviate or even reduce some of our stress levels?
Yeah, I would, obviously I hope that I've made it clear that it's, top of the list as far as the things that we do need to pay attention to. So the first thing I would say is, you need to cut yourself a lot of slack here because you don't have control over most of the stress. So if we all just start with accepting that stress response management does not mean that you get rid of stress. Let's just pretend for a minute that every single stressor going on in your life today is something wholly out of your control. So that takes that level of guilt or I should, or it's my fault, away, because it's not about the stress. It's always going to be there. Today it's COVID, tomorrow it's going to be something else, right? Today it's a difficult client. Well, you're probably going to have another one tomorrow. So it's not about the stress. It's really about your response to the stress. And for most of us, that's automatic, right? It is programmed in from the time we're children, and it's automatic, and it pretty much is in fight or flight mode 24 hours a day. So really the key things and the easy answer would be you need to have a daily consistent practice for starting to retrain your nervous system about how to respond to the stress. Right now it sees a difficult client as a near-death experience, a lion chasing you in a jungle, right? It doesn't have the ability to go, oh, that's just a difficult client. We'll only give her this much of a stress response. It's black and white, off and on, death or vacation. That's it. Okay. So if we're in death mode most of the time, because whoever is on vacation, even when they're on vacation, then you have to do something to begin to retrain the nervous system. And, the easy word for me to use would be meditation. How you interpret that is really up to you, but there are tons of apps, tons of, programs online. We're doing Level 10 Health right now is doing a sprint to the summit, and it is a daily meditation involved. Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey do a big, 30-day meditation thing. I mean, it's rampant. You will have no trouble finding help on meditation. It's not a religious thing. It can be used as a spiritual practice, but it really is a tool. I see it as a therapeutic tool, just like taking a Lipitor for cholesterol. This is a therapeutic tool that you use consistently, daily, at the beginning and the end of the day. And what that will do is help to begin to manage a stress response. There's many different apps out there: Calm, Headspace, Insight Timer, 10% Happier. Find one that you like and just do what it says. It's guided imagery. It's easy to do. But you'll find that when you're consistent with it and you do it daily and you open your day that way before you start your day and you close your day that way, it will make such a huge difference in how that automatic response becomes something that you're much more in control of. So that's what I would say about stress response management is use meditation in all of its forms. Find what works for you.
Can I ask, so because Debbie, you asked that question, is I see, Debbie, you post a lot of pictures of your new baby horse, little beautiful
Yeah.
thing, you know, and I have to feel like it's very therapeutic for you. Does something like
It is.
like if she has that happy space that she goes to with her horses?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that there is a therapeutic aspect to all of it: art, music, you know, equestrian, whatever your passion is. And if you don't have one, you should really look into finding one. Maybe it's music, maybe it's painting, maybe it's sculpting, maybe it's gardening, and certainly spending more time, you know, having that type of activity. I would say it would not replace, if we look at, again, I'm going to go back to the science. If we look at the science behind management of stress response, there's very few things that do it. And the reason is because it is about the deep breath into the belly that changes the nervous system's reaction. If you are truly in danger, you cannot take a deep breath. You can't. So if you can take a deep breath and remind yourself to breathe deeply, which is what we do in meditation, it's what you do in yoga, then you are retraining the nervous system. So if you want to use, you know, equestrian or gardening, or you need something at the time then to remind you to deeply breathe through that whole, make that your meditation. If it's walking in the forest, make that your meditation.
Okay, I love that. That's great. I didn't realize that. Okay. I'm in my garden now. I'm gonna be
Deep breathing, yes.
Anna, you had a question. I have unmute yourself. There you go. I think you're on. No, unmute. There you go. Anna, there you go. Ask your question. You had a question, Anna?
Oh my gosh, yes. Which one? Oh, vitamins. You mentioned that there are vitamins and there are vitamins over the counter, and that is a huge difference. I would love to know about that, because most of my vitamins, I get them from Costco.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think unfortunately, so here's the thing to understand about over-the-counter supplementation. It is when you can go into a drugstore or Costco and buy vitamins, generally it has to be assumed that you are already healthy and you're just looking to maintain health. So generally what you'll see is the doses of the things in the bottle are very, very low. They're really just there as more of a maintenance. The reality is most of us, when we go to the store and we're looking for things like that, we're usually doing it because we have an issue that we're trying to correct. And so they're not what I would call therapeutic or dosed high enough to make really much of a difference. That's the number one issue with a lot of over-the-counter products. Secondly, a lot of the over-the-counter products also contain things that are problematic, dyes and coatings and fillers. You'll see chemical names on your label. That's very common in over-the-counter supplementation because, you know, it's cheaper to produce it that way, and you're basically creating something for the masses. It's low enough dose that it's not going to hurt anyone. So I have a real issue. There isn't a lot of controls or oversight for the supplement industry. That will probably change over time. But over the counter is tricky. Now, that's not to say that you can't get things over the counter. Some health food stores may have vitamin products. Sometimes through practitioners like me, you can buy things online. But the bottom line is that most of those types of supplements are not really going to contain much of what you need, and may contain things that you don't need, like fillers and preservative chemicals and coatings and things. I think part of your question was you wanted to know what the essential things were that most of us need. I would say that, you know, if I'm looking at a mass population, and I'm assuming everybody has reasonably good gut function for absorption, it would be what I helped Tom and Kathy assemble for the Level 10 Health products. So the focus formula is a multivitamin. I think most of us need to have a multivitamin type of product, but again, one that's got high enough doses of things to really matter. So that's where you get your essential, your C, your Bs, your vitamin D, your minerals like magnesium. You get, in our focus formula, we also put a whole complement of things in there for the brain, like ginkgo biloba. So we tried to create a product line that sort of covers things from, tip to toes as far as the things that the body needs. So I would say all of your basic nutrients are contained in those. But our energy formula is a hormone balancing formula, actually. It contains herbs, Chinese herbs that help manage that stress response and that adrenal response to balance hormones. I think that's, most of us, especially now with the stress levels as high as they are, need something to help manage that. It doesn't take the place of the meditation and the deep breathing, but it can help support good stress response management. And then we have our power formula, which is a nutrition, right? So it's high antioxidants. We just don't get the level of nutrition from our food now that we did in the past. So, so those would be the basics. And the only thing I would add in that's not in the level 10 products is, sorry, my dog's having a fit in the background.
I love dogs, don't worry. It's so cute. I saw him passing behind you.
Did you? I do everything I can to keep him quiet, but it's trash day. So every time the trash man goes by, it's like crazy. But anyway, fish oil, your omega-3s are really, really important. So those are the things that I would say would be the basics.
Well, I have to say thank you. I hope you all have gotten a ton out of this. And I mentioned before, if you want to talk to her about a health evaluation, that's totally up to you. I think it's the best thing I have ever done in my life. And I'd like to think that I'm living longer because of it. So I highly recommend it. You can reach out through Level 10 to Pam about it. I don't know, maybe we should do this once a month or once a quarter. I think there's a lot of great questions I know we probably didn't get to, and there's a lot more specifics I think the ladies would like. So if you ladies would go to the Facebook page and under the comment section of the post for today's call, let us know what you think. Let us know if you'd like to do this again, or if, hey, you're good. I could talk to Pam and Kathy for hours about health, because there's so much we don't know, and there's so much misinformation out there, that having somebody that just understands it as deeply as Pam does come and share is just amazing. So thank you both. Thank you both very, very much.
If I could just say also, I have listened to Pam many, many, many times. We work together, and I learned so much every time. I mean, even here, I'm just going, oh yeah. And the reminder for me is so important, because even though I've been told certain things, I don't know, it just reiterates it again for me and makes it stronger, so that I just get better and better at my own health. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Pam. And thank you, Jess.
Thank you, Pam.
Having us here. We really enjoyed it. It was good.
Good. Thank you all so very much.
Yeah, any ongoing questions? I know there's quite a few in the chat. We'll see if we can get a copy of that, and I can certainly reach out and provide you all with with the answers that you're looking for. But I'm happy to help in any way that I can. And so much of the Level 10 Health focus is on helping you really optimize your health foundation. So we've got accountability coaches. It's not just about the products. I mean, we've got the programs and the coaches, and then I'm able to work one-on-one with you directly if you've got health issues. So we have a lot to offer as far as helping you get optimally healthy, for sure.
And I didn't realize this. It looks like there's a discount for women that are in the Wire group. You get 25% off of the products. I didn't realize that. That's excellent. So yes, if somebody wanted to reach out through Level 10?
Yeah, it's just Pam at level10health.com. So if you had a question here and you didn't get it answered, just send me the question to Pam at Level 10. It's level10health.com. And I'm happy to answer questions or, give you more information through that.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a healthy day.
Have a healthy day.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.